Well, the charge for this panel is to address whether the traditional tools used to combat discrimination are sufficient to address the next generation of problems that have resulted from past discrimination, including continued racial and ethnic disparities in important measures of well-being and success. This discussion obviously includes a consideration of public policy options, both old and new, but it goes beyond public policy by also asking about the limits of government action and what the right mix of government and non-government action should be. In a pre-conference call with the panel members, we identified the following questions as relevant. They don't have to answer them all, but I'm going to repeat them anyway, and if they go off on more brilliant things, I still might turn them back to a few of these questions. First, beyond rigorous enforcement of anti-discrimination law, what can and should be done by government to narrow racial and ethnic disparities? 2, what can and should be done by other institutions, and what other institutions are best suited to the task? 3, what role can self-help play in narrowing the gap, or is that discussion a counterproductive exercise in blaming the victim? 4, assuming self-help is an important part of the equation, how is that properly fostered and supported, or can it be? Now, with regard to the role of public policy, I asked the panelists to also consider an additional question: have some government programs unintentionally contributed to racial disparities or the maintenance of racial disparities that existed from some other reason? And there was a bit of a discussion in the previous panel on this question, and I suppose one sub-question that falls in that category is, even if government policies played an unintended role in maintaining or contributing to disparities, are they necessarily part of the cure? Or must we look to other means to solve the situation? Well, I think you'll all agree with me that we have a very impressive panel to address these questions. In my day job, I work for a think tank, but I don't think I've ever had the sort of experience of serving with people with the kind of breadth and of experience and knowledge of this panel today. I'm going to introduce them in the order in which they're going to speak, necessarily truncating all of their publications and appearances, but I do think they deserve some due, and your knowledge of their background may help you with questions. Amy Wax will speak first. She is the Robert Mundheim Professor of Law at the University of Pennsylvania Law School, where she teaches social welfare law and policy, remedies, and has taught several other law school subjects. Previous to that, she received a medical degree with honors from Harvard Medical School and trained as a neurologist at New York Hospital in the early 1980s. As impressive as that is, I might skip her digression into molecular biophysics, biochemistry, and medicine, except that it has provided her with some powerful insights that have influenced her writing on social welfare and related issues. Before she entered the Legal Academy, she was a law clerk to Judge Abner Mikva on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals and worked in the Office of Solicitor General of the United States, where she argued 15 cases before the Supreme Court of the United States. Her current work addresses issues in social welfare law and policy, as well as the relationship of family, the workplace, and labor markets. Her most current book, Race, Wrongs, and Remedies, Group Justice in the 21st Century, which was published last spring, is of particular relevance to this panel's topic. Next, we'll hear from Clarence Jones. Mr. Jones is a scholar in residence and visiting professor at the Martin Luther King Jr. Research and Education Institute at Stanford University in Palo Alto. From 1960 until April 4th, 1968, he was one of the closest political confidants, advisor, lawyer, and draft speechwriter for the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. During his years of work for Dr. King, he also became the first African-American to become a partner in a Wall Street investment banking firm, and that enabled him to serve a critical role in the civil rights movement through his effective fundraising support for Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Jones is the recipient of numerous awards and citations, including the letter of commendation from President Bill Clinton for his work in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963, the Isaiah Award from the American Jewish Conference in 2006, and the Silver Shingle Award for Distinguished Public Service. He is the author of What Would Martin Say, published in 2008, and his newest book, Behind the Dream Inside the Speech That Transformed a Nation, is scheduled for publication next year. Next, we'll hear from Bill Stepney. Bill Stepney is currently the principal executive for Joseph Media, a production and consulting firm specializing in media and telecommunications. Among his many other notable achievements, of course, I have to point out he is currently chair of the New Jersey State Advisory Committee of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. He is a former president of Def Jam Records. Now, I don't know, civil rights SAC chair, president of Def Jam Records, but in some circles, Def Jam Records probably is better known, where he played an important role in the career development of a multi-million selling artist, LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys, Slick Rick, Third Bass. He was also one of the founding members of the music production team, the Bomb Squad. By the way, don't make fun of me if I mispronounce these. It's because I'm old, not because I'm culturally insensitive. Okay. Anyway, the Bomb Squad, as most of you know, was responsible for much of the work of Ice Cube, Belle Biv DeVoe, Chaka Khan, Vanessa Williams. I know how to pronounce some of these. In short, Mr. Stepney was instrumental in shaping the billion-dollar multimedia empire that Def Jam has become. Among the reasons we particularly wanted him to speak today is in September 2008, Stepney joined with the New York-based firm Eline Ventures to serve as an executive producer for a series of computer video games designed to feature a double bottom-line strategy combining profitability with meaningful social impact. Their first project, Talkers and Doers, is a computer video game franchise developed to encourage entrepreneurship for at-risk teens and young adults. This was the winner of a John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation grant, and it was awarded the Innovation in Participatory Learning. The Talkers and Doers game will feature fun and relevant gameplay, I hope to a lame person like me too, and will integrate real-world mentors, opportunities, and resources. Mr. Stepney also served on the board of directors of the Apollo Theater Foundation, was trustee for the National Urban League. He is a featured essayist in the book, Be a Father to Your Child, Real Talk from Black Men on Family, Love, and Fatherhood. And last but not least will be Carol Swain. Ms. Swain is the professor of political science and professor of law at Vanderbilt University. Professor Swain is also a member of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Among her many impressive titles, she also serves on the Tennessee State Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. I've got to thank them for their service for our commission. Professor Swain earned a deserved national reputation for her work on race relations and representation in Congress with her book, Black Faces, Black Interests, The Representation of African Americans in Congress. The book was named one of 7 outstanding academic books of 1994 by the Library Choice Journal, received the 1994 Woodrow Wilson Prize, and many, I should add, many other awards, but it's been cited by different justices in 1994 and 2003 in cases before the Supreme Court. Her more recent books include The New White Nationalism in America, Its Challenge to Integration, which was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, Contemporary Voices of White Nationalism, and most recently, Debating Immigration, a collection of 18 essays by Swain and other scholars that explore the nuances of contemporary immigration and citizenship in the United States. She is currently working on another manuscript, Broken Vows, Banished Virtues, Reclaiming America's Promise. So I will ask them to each limit their remarks to 8 minutes. We began, I think, 5 or so minutes early so that we can save time for a little extra time for audience questions. And I am going to reserve the first question for a reporter who I think got the short end of the stick the last 2 times. So, but I will ask you all to recognize her, but you all can stay in your seats. I'll give you, we're going to have a panel discussion first, and I'll try to give you all a 2-minute warning to come up to the mic. So with that, Professor Wax.